you have a challenging. We're all dealing with challenging COVID and have different things that we're presented with, and you guys may be presented with some of the hardest challenges, not being able to play. So just wanted to have you on and kind of shed some light on the Ivy League and you guys program, and just talk a little bit about what you guys are doing. How was it when you got the news? Just how you're kind of sorting through all of this whole time now that you guys can't play this season.
Yeah, y'all can hear me great. All right.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah. So it's been difficult to start off with. I'll be honest with you. It was a tough break, especially being the first conference to cancel last year and being kind of the last to be introduced back to basketball. It was difficult, definitely difficult to communicate with our players and everybody. But for the most part, I think our guys took it on the chin pretty well. I think they were more upset in the way that they found out as opposed to that they found out, to be honest. But all in all, just trying to stay creative, trying to stay on top of our guys and making sure that they're okay. As all college coaches know, the product, the most important product that you have is the product that, you have currently, which is the current players. And so just making sure our guys are safe and healthy, making sure that they're continuing to work out and continuing to do the things off the court that they need to do. And then most importantly, just being able to make sure that they're continuing to be good characters and connecting with them.
Yeah, you talked about the hard part was not finding out, but how you found out.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, take us kind of through that. I know it's probably tough to keep talking about this subject because it's not really going away. But people, you guys are able to give some type of strength and hope and how you've handled it, because everybody's dealt with a different hand, and how you guys are handling it is important for people to hear and people to kind of know that story. So if you don't mind sharing, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, the coaches were, we all kind of, I guess you could say, see the writing on the wall with certain things happening and this, that, and the third. But to be honest, we all were pretty optimistic in the fact that maybe somehow they'll be able to pull it out. But to be honest, as time went on, you kind of start to hear and see things and feel. And so when we got the news from our administration and from, the conference leadership, it came as it was kind of like 50-50. You kind of knew it, but you kind of was hoping on the same end. Whereas some of our players, we probably found out the true news maybe about an hour and a half before our players did. And, of course, there are people connected. And so they started to hear things on Twitter and hear things on social media and hear, word of mouth, people calling, maybe texting, whatever. And next thing you know, some of the players, by the time that they got to the meeting with our leadership, they kind of already knew and they were a little upset. And you gotta have to tell them that's part of the nature of the game, that's part of the business, and when it comes to certain things like that. But at the end of the day, that's out of your control. But I mean, to be honest, it was the inevitable, and I think for the most part our guys are handling it well. And I'll say this too, is because they really are, because we're in the Ivy, there's a huge academic component. They're really knee deep in a lot of things that they're doing off the court as well, whether it be internships, whether it be, academic stuff, projects, not to mention this is the final portion of the semester. So there's a lot of things going on with them, as well as trying to keep up with their family and making sure that everybody's safe and well. So at the end of the day, I mean, we try to look at it as, this is all a privilege still. This is an opportunity for us to continue to live healthy, to be able to be around family, friends, people that are close to us, and still try to do the things that we need to do. And ultimately, there's a bigger goal and a bigger picture. And so you can't really cry over spilled milk. You just got to keep moving forward.
Yeah, Coach, appreciate you joining us. I was curious, I've heard from a lot of coaches in the past that like the season is so busy that it's hard to follow the rest of the world. So I'm curious, with a year like this where you guys aren't in that same grind of playing every single week, and obviously you guys are busy, but what are you doing, watching around the country? What are you learning from being able to watch more games throughout the sport?
I'll tell you this, before anything, I've really kind of OD'd in the fact of really being a husband and a dad. I'm right now, I'm a kindergarten teacher. My kid just started kindergarten. So right now he's eating a ham and cheese in the kitchen right now and some Doritos. So I'm a cafeteria worker as well. But I'll tell you this, I've really been taken aback for a minute because I've actually became a fan again. when you're so busy scouting and recruiting and doing this and traveling and really getting into the grind of college basketball, you forget how to be a fan sometimes because it's so robotic. And now I'm having a chance to watch some of these high level games in which, normally you wouldn't get a chance to watch any of those games because you play on the same day. Everybody's playing on Saturday, so you can't really watch those games. And you get a chance to really look and, catch some X's and O's and see what guys are doing, what coaches are making adjustments with, and just how people are adjusting to the times right now. I mean, you got probably about 40% of the games being canceled or postponed. And so you're looking at how people are battling through different levels of adversity, whether that be staying healthy, whether that be being on the court with limited practice, limited players, limited access, weird travel, crazy schedules. People are having to pick up games after like 2 or 3 days. And so you're looking at all of that and you're just really seeing and appreciating the resilience of all of these student athletes and coaches and their staffs and programs. And so I think, looking and seeing overall at the landscape of what college basketball is, I think that it's going very, very strong. But at the end of the day, with COVID-19, you never know how this thing's going to turn out. So I'm optimistic that I get to watch basketball and be a fan again.
And I'm curious what the reaction has been from recruits. Obviously you can't speak about anyone in particular, but I'd imagine that guys understand the decision. But what's been the feedback you guys have heard on the trail? Has there been any pushback? Like, why are you guys the only ones not playing right now?
Not too much. To be honest, I think guys really understand it, and the reason why is because they're going through it right now. Yeah. There's a lot of high school seasons that are canceled, a lot of leagues that are playing limited. I know in certain states they're having to play with masks. They're restricted to certain amounts of travel, this, that, and the third. So they're going through it just like we are. And so for us to sit here and say, we're the only ones going through it, we're that's a bit naive. And so they kind of understand it. And they're not 10 years old. They're 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. They see what's going on. And so for the most part, we really don't get that pushback. And and you got to understand too, especially from us, I can only speak from us, but we're only dealing with a certain sector of all of these players. I don't get to hear, what honestly, most of these kids are doing. There's only a select few that, we actually have the opportunity to really recruit. And that's because of all the other parameters that are around our recruiting base. So to be honest, not really much pushback. It's business as usual. As the quote says, recruiting never stops. And, at the end of the day, we're just going to keep pushing forward. And these student athletes have been a breath of fresh air to talk to, actually, and hearing some of their stories with their families and everything.
All right. Last one for you from me. Any funny stories you got from, maybe the last several months of coaching via Zoom, or even before that from your time? I'm sure you've been on the road, done a lot of stuff in your career. What's one funny story you can share with the audience?
Honestly, man, I have a bunch of funny stories that I'm not going to share on here.
That's the common answer. That's the common answer.
You can do it. Tell us a funny story of you and fatherhood. You said you're now full time almost in that. We got the Doritos. We got your little one in the other room. You're a kindergarten teacher. Maybe tell us a funny story about that, because I'm sure that's probably even better than the basketball ones anyway.
Oh, beyond. I mean, look, everybody, thinks their kid is the smartest kid in the world, and rightfully so. I truly believe that my kid is really, above the curve when it comes to like the way he thinks. He's just a different level thinker, and he's only 5. And I'm not trying to toot his own horn. He's smarter than me already. The other day, it was kind of funny. We were going over his shapes. He had a shape assessment. And, it's one of those deals where the teacher would ask, like, what type of shapes does he know? And to test, which ones he knows and which ones he doesn't know. And it's not a right or wrong. It's just so they know where they're going. And to be real, I said, hey, man, I basically was like, hey, man, look at that diamond shape over there. He goes, Dad, that's not a diamond. That's a rhombus. And I was like, oh, snap. Like 5-year-old teaching me about polygons and all this stuff. And I'm just like, man, where did the world go? Like, I'm totally, I was lost for words. At that moment in time, I knew that I'm on my way down, the intellectual stuff. But all in all, kids say the darndest things. And it's been really, really fun just trying to trek through this adventure with my son.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So much respect for you, Trey. Thanks for sharing the story. Thanks for coming on and just talking about what's a really hard thing to talk about. But as you said, there's the guys at your school are there for much more than just basketball, as all of college athletics. But doesn't mean we don't love it. Doesn't mean we don't miss it. But I know you guys are going to continue to be innovative and keeping those guys engaged and making this thing bigger than basketball. I'm glad you get to be a even more engaged dad. I'm glad you get to be an even more engaged fan. I'm sure you're going to come back with all kind of notes and trick plays, and Penn will be ready to rock and roll. See, there you go. Penn will be ready to rock and roll, man. So thanks.
Got about 5 of those, so
You're undefeated. You're undefeated. So any last words you got before you go, and then we'll let you run, man. Thanks so much.
Nah, man. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys having me on, and I just implore everybody to just make sure that they stay safe. They obviously practice everything that they need to do as far as making sure that they're healthy, they're well, and just blessings to everybody around the country and around the landscape of college basketball, and to you guys and your families as well.
Yep. Thanks so much, man. Best success in fatherhood and taking those notes to take your program to even another height next year. So thanks so much, Trey.